Are you a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues radio listener? Of course you are. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call real estate superstar Mike Burgoyne today at 314-753-4060 or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com to earn special rates today.
60 Pickleball is an industry leader in high-end pickleball paddles. Use discount code CPRICE10 to get 10% off at 60pickleball.com. Don't get stuck on the court with an inferior paddle. Go next level with 60.
This is Carl Lindbom of Carl Lindbom's Carly Bon, and thanks for tuning in to Let's Go Blues Radio over the summer. You'll hear some of Jeff Ponder, a little of Bill Day, and unfortunately some of that nasty American Curt Price. Enjoy the show.
From St. Louis, this is Jeff Ponder, and you are listening to Let's Go Blues Radio, the original and longest-running blues hockey podcast. This is episode number 40 of season 14 and the 521st episode of all time. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by Mike Burgoyne of Real Brokerage Realty. Check out strikewithmike.com and get started selling your current home or buying your new home today. On today's show, we welcome Patrik Bexell of Habs Eyes on the Prize and the Habsent Minded Podcast, and we discussed the trade between the Canadiens and the Blues earlier last month. He has deep knowledge about the Blues' new defensive acquisition, Logan Mailloux. He also lives in Sweden, so we did talk a little bit about Swedish prospects for the St. Louis Blues. I think we'll have him back to go more into depth on some of those guys like Theo Lindstein. But definitely enjoyed my conversation with Patrik, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. So first, let's get into some show announcements. The Stanley Ponder Cup Memorial Tournament has been filled. This is record time, and I'm not being facetious here. We filled this thing in 2.5 weeks. This thing usually takes months to fill. Typically, I was a little late in opening it up this year. I don't know, maybe that was a factor. Typically, I open it up in about May. I opened it up, it was about I guess that was mid-July-ish, maybe late July, and it filled in 2.5 weeks. That never happens, folks. So there's definitely some excitement around this tournament, but I do still recommend people sign up for the wait list because if you are interested in playing, there's always a couple people that have to drop out, whether it's from injury, family thing, or whatever. So I definitely recommend if you are still interested in playing, sign up for that wait list. Right now we've got 2 guys on there, 2 goalies and 2 regular skaters. So that could easily change with anybody who has to drop. So definitely recommend getting on that. I'll show, for those of you watching the video, I am actually wearing my Stanley Ponder Cup Memorial Tournament jersey from last year. So I'll stand up and give you the full look. Pretty cool. So we do have jerseys now every year, so that's why the price bumped last year to $60. It does provide a little bit more for people for our charities, but it does obviously go into jersey costs as well. So this is a nice pink one that I wore last year. My team was the pink team, and I don't think we're bringing pink back this year, unfortunately. I guess some of my teammates complained, which I didn't know about, that they had to be pink. I personally think it looks awesome. You can wear this, if I'm playing on a red team that usually wears red jerseys, I wear this guy. I think it looks awesome. So, but anyway, pink is gone, unfortunately. But we did decide on some colors this year, and I think the jerseys look pretty sick. So for those of you interested, we also sell the jerseys on the side too to make a little extra money for the charity. So if you're interested, just let us know. We will reveal the jerseys at a later time. But Remember, I'll say this very quickly, the day and time, November 22nd, 2025. It starts at 11 Central. It goes to about 10:30-ish, maybe even before that. And it's at Midwest Sport Hockey in Baldwin. It benefits the NMDP, which is the National Marrow Donor Program. Of course, that is formerly Be the Match. And again, if you want to sign up for that wait list, it is $60. Now that the players are all filled up, we will focus on raffle. So we always get a couple jerseys, like actual like Blues jerseys in there. We get, I think we've had like a Team USA jersey before with, oh, good Lord, the starting, I'm a horrible hockey fan. The starting goalie for Team USA, Jim Craig. We got a Jim Craig jersey a couple of years ago, which was really cool. So, yeah, we typically get things like that, which is cool. And then we also get like Blues tickets, Cardinals tickets, box seats, some really cool stuff. So, definitely recommend coming and checking that out if you have free time on that day. Circle that day on your calendar. Again, it is November 22nd, and we start around 11 a.m., but like I said, it goes all day, so join us anytime. In terms of news, again, not a lot going on in the NHL right now, folks. It is August 7th. The only news that has really come out involving the Blues, the Tkachuk brothers and father will appear on the deluxe edition of NHL 26. Matthew Tkachuk is the official cover athlete for the game, but the deluxe edition features the family, which includes Keith with a Blues jersey on in his prime. Kind of would have been funnier if they showed him now wearing a Blues jersey. He's a little bit bigger than he used to be, but yeah, definitely a nice-looking Keith Tkachuk standing next to his two sons. Very cool photo, and look forward to seeing that deluxe edition on the shelves. I'll say, and for those of you who watch the show or listen to the show typically, I was one of those advocates for EA, even through some of the rough games they've had. I had every single game since the NHLPA version in, what was that, 93 that came out. I had every one up until NHL 24. To me, sorry if you disagree, NHL 24 was unplayable. It got bad for a couple of years before that, but 24 was where it lost me. For me, it was the hitting engine that they created. Basically, to hit, you can't just go in and hit someone. You got to wind up your hit. So from the direction you're hitting, you have to wind your direction pad back and then go forward. Not every hit is that way. For those of you who played, who do play hockey know sometimes a hit's just a hit. Sometimes you go in and it's last minute and you have to react and you put your shoulder up and you hit someone. It's not always a big, like, I need to prepare for this hit. So for me, that just took me out of the game. And it's funny, that's probably the one factor that took it out. It's just, and there's just no defense on the game. And so, like, hitting was one of the few things you could do to defend. And it's just not even fun. For me, it's also like it's a video game, you know? Like, why are you going so real with it? Let's have a little bit of fun with it. Anyway, not a fan of the games anymore. I will not be buying NHL 26 until there is a huge revamp of the gameplay. But I will say, very cool to see the Tkachuks get their moment on the game cover. And again, on the deluxe cover, seeing Keith in his Blues jersey is pretty cool. So I'm sure Coyotes fans don't enjoy that, but I do. I thought it was very cool to see that. Well, we will take our quick commercial break here, and when we come back, you will hear from myself and Patrik Bexell of Habs Eyes on the Prize and the Habsent Minded Podcast, and we will be talking Logan Mailloux. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We'll return after these messages.
As a hockey player, Mike Burgoyne knows a thing or two about making the perfect play. And when it comes to real estate, he's always ready to score the winning goal for his clients. If you're a first responder, a veteran, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, or a Let's Go Blues radio listener looking to score the home of your dreams, you'll receive special rates with Mike. Go ahead, shoot some questions his way, and he'll have the answer quicker than Curtis Joseph on a breakaway.
Curtis Joseph got the paddle down.
Any barriers? Mike will mow them down like Chris Pronger in front of the net. He'll score you your dream home or sell your existing home faster than a Brett Hall one-timer.
Flip past the Hall. He shoots. He scores.
See Burgoyne's real estate prowess in action today by emailing him at mike@strikewithmike.com or by calling 314-753-4060. That email again is mike@strikewithmike.com, and that phone number is 314-753-4060. Getting Mike Burgoyne on your team will be the boost your power play needs.
The battle for the top spot in the league is on the line. Many warriors have entered the concrete jungle, but when the smoke clears, only one will remain. They all want it, but only one shall have it. Hide your children. Lock your doors. Those with weak stomachs should almost certainly look away. This is Big Boy Pickleball. You have been warned.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
And welcome back from break. We are joined now by Patrik Bexell, the European correspondent for Habs Eyes on the Prize. He is also the host of a podcast that's associated with Habs Eyes on the Prize, Habsent Minded. Again, Patrik, thank you very much for coming on, and let's talk about some awesome stuff between a trade that happened between our teams.
Yeah, it was a great thing to reach out to you, and then we can do the doubleheader, eh?
Yeah, right. Yep, because I will be on your show.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll be doing that too. So whenever that happens, I'll make sure to let our listeners know so they can hear more about my thoughts on the trade itself.
Yeah.
But where are you located, Patrik?
I'm in Gothenburg, Sweden, or actually 50 kilometers south of Gothenburg. So it's closer to 9:30 p.m. So thank you for taking the time in the middle of the day, Jeff.
Yes.
It's
very happy
different
to do so.
to record midday, right?
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. Typically we do our show. Actually, we do live shows and we do them very late. We typically start at about 9:30 p.m. So at that point, I mean, you're probably almost starting your day at that point.
Yeah, I spent some time for a company working in the Philippines. That was great because you went up at 7 and you started watching NHL in the middle of the morning, more or less. Whereas here you have to stay up until 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. to see the game start, unless it's a early game on a Saturday.
Right. So, since we have video here, sorry, podcasters, we actually, it's funny because I was like, I'm going to be accommodating to our guest. And apparently, Patrik, you thought the same thing. So yeah, I'm wearing my awesome Batman Montreal Canadiens shirt. What about you? What do you got on over there, Patrik?
Yeah, I got the only blue and yellow I could find, which is the first jersey or revival jersey of Frölunda's first jersey, which is the local team, obviously, and one of the top SHL team over the last 10 years. So
look at us. We're just the best guests and hosts ever.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have, I got to say, I love the logo for St. Louis Blues, and Tarasenko was a really good favorite of mine when I was allowed to, or when I did watch KHL a lot more than I do today.
Yeah, he was dynamic in the KHL. He was on that line with, oh my goodness, I can't remember who he was on the line with, but I remember that line was ridiculous. And it was, if we can get all three of those guys on St. Louis, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. But hey, you managed a Stanley Cup win before we did, right?
That's true. That's true. When was let's see, the last Cup win for the Canadiens was that
93,
early 90, right?
Yeah.
Like 91.
92, 93. I don't know. Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So I have to ask you, what made you follow the Habs?
Interesting enough, there are like two stories to this in a way, because I was sitting there watching the Russian team in World Championship when I in the must have been mid 80s, and they were like the best hockey team I've ever seen. And I was sitting there with my dad and we were watching that, and I said like, and then he said, there was a team in Canada where they actually changed the rules because they were so good. And that was when when he mentioned that Sean Bellow scored a hat trick on a 2-minute minor.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to support that team. And then
that's not a bad
at
idea.
that time, Mats Näslund, who was a favorite player here in Sweden, went over to play for the Canadiens as well. And then it was dormant a bit because coverage wasn't as good, and the internet hadn't really facilitated that bit. So I moved to London, worked for a company that benefits from gambling, and
Nice.
I was allowed to watch a lot more hockey than I normally did, and that was the 2010 run that Montreal went on, and you started hanging out with the Canadiens fans over at the Maple Leaf near Covent Garden. If any of you guys are homesick and are in London at one point or another,
There you go.
So yeah, and then I started following for real with the insights that I had to obviously the betting industry and all that, and I started writing comments on Eyes on the Price, and when they realized they had a guy in Europe who watched all these European players, why don't ask him to write some articles here and there as well? And I've been with the site for, I think it's 10 years, 12 years, 11 years, 10 or 12, 11 years. I don't know even anymore. But
that's fantastic.
Built up a reputation here in Europe as being fair. I think that's the most important bit, really.
Good. So you said the 2010 run, you had quite the goalie at that point, someone we both share fanship over.
Who just retired, by the way, right?
Yes, just retired. I think he was like 40 or 41 when he retired too. But yeah, Yaroslav Halak. That run was magical. And I remember when he made that run and then it was announced that the Blues acquired him in a trade, I was like, we just got the best goalie in the NHL.
And then curtprice came in.
Yeah, then it was like, oh, I see why they traded Halak. But yeah,
I mean like I think there were talk among the media in Montreal at that time to actually trade Price because you get a higher return.
Yep. I remember hearing that too, but I think Montreal made the right decision.
I think so too.
Halak had a hell of a career, don't get me wrong, but yeah, Carey Price was one of a kind.
Speaking about Slovaks and Czechs and all that, who suited up for Kladno last night? Jaromir Jagr.
Unbelievable.
And of course, I think he had 1 or 2 assists. So he's looking for his 38th professional season.
Oh my God.
People retire when they're 38.
I was going to say, I think he started playing professionally the year that my wife was born. And I'm like, as long as she's been alive, this dude has been playing professional hockey. I mean, that is crazy to think about. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, it's been a while, and it's great. And I was cheering for St. Louis when you guys won the cup, and that was a Cinderella story as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I think everybody was cheering for us when we made the Stanley Cup final because everybody was like, just beat Boston, please. So that was nice to have a lot of people have our backs. But yeah, I mean, the magic of that run, I mean, it'll never be duplicated. There'll be books and movies written about it in the future. It was just one of those Cinderella things. Right? Oh, of course. Yeah. That is my son's favorite song. So I get to relive that song as much as I possibly can stand. But Patrik, the reason I wanted to bring you on the show is so we could talk about this big trade that the Blues and the Canadiens made recently. Going your way is Zach Bolduc, a Blues draft pick that kind of shined on the scene this past season. And then obviously coming back to the Blues is Logan Mailloux, a defenseman who's a little maligned in his past, but has shown to be a very capable defenseman at the AHL level, likely ready for the NHL level now, and has, well, we mentioned the maligned part, but has apparently, from all instances I've heard, have done everything in his power to right the ship, let's say. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to get your initial thoughts on Logan Mailloux when you saw this trade, and coming back the other way, a guy like Zach Bolduc. What were your thoughts on this trade when you first saw it, and then what do you think now after a couple months?
I think the first thought was that, yeah, this is a surplus trade from our side because Bolduc was unknown to me. So that was the first thing, that with the rise of Lane Hudson, you didn't need Logan Mailloux. I think it was that was the case. Then you have David Reinbacher, another top pick, coming into to the organization as well, on the same side as Logan Mailloux, but much stronger defense. A lot less offense, though. So there is some offense with Reinbacher, but Mailloux has an offense that is, I wouldn't say similar to Hudson's, but with the shot that he's having, with the physical play that he can do on the blue line and run a power play at most times, at least at AHL level, there was not a chance that he would be able to grab that spot from Lane Hudson. And we all know why, because one is sitting with the Calder and the other one was traded, right?
Yep.
So I think, there are, Logan Mailloux will be a very, very good NHLer.
Yes.
I think that's not an argument against that. Like, he's going to need a very solid defender next to him, like one of those old school sweepers, more or less, for using football language, that can cover a little bit more ice, maybe, because sometimes he has this tendency to do the hero puck, and sometimes it works out and it's absolutely amazing, and sometimes it doesn't, and then you need your best friend behind you, right? But yeah, he's going to be a very, very good defender. Offensive minded, obviously. He's shot. It's going to hurt me when he plays us, because we know he's going to score like 3.
That's the way it always works, right? The guy that gets traded is the one who's going to bury you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Callie Rosen was a name that was funny, because I got a friend that's a big Maple Leafs fan, and so Callie Rosen came to the Blues, very unknown player, even Maple Leafs fans. Some people didn't know who he was, and then he scores his first goal of the season against the Maple Leafs, and it's the game winner. And he's like, "Of course, Callie Rosen had the game winner."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "That's the way it works." I mean, the Blues, every time they've faced Brett Hall or Brendan Shanahan or one of those guys that got traded, they always, it was without a doubt, would score against the Blues.
Yeah. I think Mailloux also has, he's been the captain of the AHL team, and I think that, he has that kind of leadership where he leads from the front. It's good in some ways and bad in some ways, obviously, but there's pros and cons with it with that, because sometimes he gets a little bit overexcited and he wants that fight, or he wants to show who's his power. Fans love it, I know that, so it's not that, but sometimes you need your good defender to be on the ice as well.
So you mentioned, kind of makes or breaks him with a good line mate, someone who can cover his back when needed. Looking at the stats from last season, only 7 games in Montreal, like you said, the captain of the AHL team. But while he was up in the NHL, the most time that he saw was with Lane Hudson, who we all know is a fantastic defender. Was that kind of the thought process of like, well, Lane Hudson's a guy that can cover the whole ice, so if we put him out there with Logan Mailloux, that might allow him to, kind of carry the puck and be that guy. Did you see flashes of that? Again, I know it's only 7 games, but, was there flashes of that for you?
Not really. I was maybe too focused on Lane at that point, because at one point he looked like he was going to break the rookie record in Montreal, which has stand for what was it, 30 years, 40 years? So there was all that. It's going to be broken this year with a certain Ivan Demidov, but I think I think we had a couple of pairings working at that point, if I remember correctly, and you didn't want to mix with them. So you had these two guys that could benefit to learn from each other and cover each other and see what, a little bit of sink and swim.
Yeah. It looks like he played a lot with, obviously, mostly with Hudson, but again, 7 games, small sample size. But he also played with Zajac, Mike Matheson, Jaden Struble, David Savard, basically through the entire lineup, played with everybody. Was there, and you mentioned, maybe a guy who can cover the ice a little better would be, like you mentioned, the sweeper. So are you thinking like it's somebody who, if he plays with somebody who can skate well and can, again, maybe prefers to stay back a little bit. Is that kind of the type of defender that needs to play with them?
I'm not even sure that he needs to skate well. He needs to skate average, but he needs to be that defensively secure person. In some ways, if they go over the blue line, he goes to change and you put in another guy for the offensive zone in a way. But you really need that lock to that can solidify and let Logan Mailloux shine because you want him to shine.
Yep. NHL comparable. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but can you think of anyone that's
Matt, my co-host on the podcast? He's having this. Who is it? It's not Big Bird. It's not Larry Robinson, but it's one of those super big old Montreal Canadiens defenders. Yeah, like with that howitzer of a shot that it's not gonna be Shea Weber because he's not going to get that far down on and he's not as equally sound in the defensive zone, but he has the same kind of velocity on his shot. So there is that, but you need to hit the net. He has a really, really good wrister that he should use a little bit more, I think, to place the shot on net. But yeah, you need a partner that, and you want that partnership to stay. You don't want to move them around too much.
Yep. Like we saw in his 7 games last season.
Exactly.
Maybe part of the reason he did not stay up.
I mean, I think it was injuries, and I think there were pairings, and it was at that point before Montreal went on that crazy run where they, when they take 9 out of 11 2 times in a row or something like that, and ended up in the playoffs. So it was before all that, but I think in that regard, I think Mailloux has he has a great opportunity to take an NHL roster spot in St. Louis. He would have had to wait for a year, maybe even 2 in Montreal. So it's perfect for him to go. He's going to be so motivated. He wants to show that he's earned this the hard way because he's made his years in the AHL, and he's 2-time All-Star. He's been the captain. He's done it all. He was an integrated part in the run for the AHL championship last year. He's done all that. He needs to take the next step, and this was a surplus trade from Montreal side. And I know you Jeff has said that it's a surplus from Montreal from St. Louis side as well. So I think you're giving these two guys the best chance to succeed as hockey players.
Yeah, I think that's what this is. And let's face it too, and we'll talk more on your show about this, but with Bolduc, being a French-speaking individual as well, I'm sure that plays into it. And I'm sure Montreal was very excited to get somebody like him. But yeah, for the Blues, it was a winger, was a surplus position. For a lot of people were not happy with this trade on the St. Louis side because everybody thought, Bolduc, he shined last year. After the Blues hired Jim Montgomery as the head coach in November, he had not scored a point at that, not scored a goal until he was hired. And then all of a sudden he pots 19 with Montgomery as his head coach. So it was clear he was on the uprise. But I think the Blues, again, obviously they had to make a surplus trade, but I think this was a situation where they saw the opportunity to grab a guy like Mailloux who can skate the puck and be a power play leader. And I think the Blues are going to give him every opportunity to make this team out of camp, especially when you consider Nick Leddy was just outright put on waivers and the Sharks picked him up. And I think they thought, okay, this is my Mailloux's spot to step in and at least be a third pairing guy, if not step in on a second pairing with like a Justin Falk or somebody like that.
I wouldn't mind having him on third pairing and giving him the opportunity to really find his confidence on the power play, and then build from there rather than overextend him and just see the mistakes. Let him grow into it. Don't rush him. He's going to be wanting to play high up the lineup as well, because that's the kind of player you are in NHL. You want to play as high as possible. But it would, like, we've seen some of the mistakes that he has done at AHL level as well, when he goes hero pack or he misses a read because he wants to hit, and you remember those, and you remember the highlights. And in a defender, for a defender, you really don't want to remember anything except maybe for a highlight goal or something like that, like a hard. But the first time you see him shoot, and I promise you, after that, the fans is going to be on their feet on the power play and just wait for him to rip it.
Oh, that's a feeling we kind of miss. We used to get that with Al MacInnis back in the day. Whenever that guy had the puck at the point, the entire arena would erupt and shoot, because they're just like, dude, no one can shoot like you. So if they have another player like that, I'm not trying to say he's Al MacInnis level, but a guy who can shoot the puck from the point, that's fantastic. That's good to hear. So I wanted to ask you,
many people think, and this is why I contacted you, is the top 25 under 25 that we do, and he was number 10 on our list last year with the stacked, cupboard that Montreal had.
That's crazy. Must be a lot of defensemen up there if they're willing to move him.
I think it was more the right side that just worked out suddenly.
Yep. Well, I wanted to ask you, so, we don't need to go into the specifics about what happened, but yes, we all know about the issues that Mailloux faced before the draft. And he, had some
issues. It was Montreal's Montreal shouldn't have drafted him. It was his
and Justin Trudeau has actually even came out and said that he was not a fan of this pick when he returned to the AHL that season. And let's also say Mailloux even said, "Do not draft me. I need to work on my character." Montreal picked him anyway. He gets suspended by the OHL in September of 21, reinstated on January 1st. And then obviously from there has played great hockey, but from all accounts that I've heard, and I've spoken to women that live in Montreal that, clearly should have issues with his character, have come out and told me, oh, he turned it around. He was, charitable. He was fan focused. He did all the right things. And people told me it wasn't just like, oh, he's trying to make up for his mistake. Like, he is a good guy. And it was like, it was more than just, I need to make up for the sin that I pulled off. I think it's more, from what I've heard, that he is just an excellent teammate and an excellent guy, and he has learned from his mistakes. Would you say that is fair?
I mean, he's obviously a good teammate. He wouldn't be captain otherwise. It's as easy as that. It doesn't matter what team you are on. You're not a captain unless you're a good teammate. I have no doubt about that. I've heard, not from women, but I've heard from others that he's worked a lot with kids. First year and when he was reinstated, and even before he was reinstated, he drove some of the youth schools around and hockey kids around to make sure they made it to practice and all that. I think that's great. As a Swede, it's also important to I know we have different laws in different sides and in different countries, and for me, I think this was an overstep, but he was charged with indecent exposure, more or less, like, or sharing photos without consent. And then his fine is based on what he earned. And he was in Division 2, which is like the third division in Sweden, Hockeyettan. So third division in Sweden. So he didn't earn anything because he wasn't even a pro. So he's the actual number of fine for the finite fine was very low. But on the other hand, as a first time offender and a non-serious crime, as is deemed in Sweden for sharing photos. He got 80 days of pay docked. 80.
Wow.
The maximum is 150. I have never heard anyone getting more than 70 before.
Wow.
And that
was
he
that
got
more
that,
of a making an example situation, you think?
No, I think it was fair, but it was also the fact that he ran quite fast. So
Yeah.
so it was that. But I think, they needed to make a deal, and he took it he took the first deal that was offered to him. But it shows that it was a serious crime in Sweden as well. You can't just look at numbers when it's like, in Finland, the speeding tickets are down to what you earn. So all the NHL players are having speeding tickets that are, if I get caught in Finland, I wouldn't have a speeding ticket that was that much, but they're going to have like 100 times that. So it's based on what you earn as well. So I think, in that regard, I know he's worked on it. I think also, I was like, he should talk about, this in schools and work with women's shelters or anything. But also, I'd be fair to the hockey community. Everyone would have said, yeah, he's just doing it for the wrong reasons. So I think, he's worked in the background. He's worked really hard. He's done everything right. He learned French as well, because he wasn't a native French speaker. He's trying to adapt into society and really, really behaved. And obviously he had to, because the spotlight was all over him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not easy as well.
Yeah, if you get drafted into a American city, it's still going to be on you. But in a Canadian city, especially a city like Toronto or Montreal, it's going to be all over you. And
if he was drafted in LA or New York, there are other sports franchises that are so much bigger.
Yep. Yeah. So I do think, from what I've just hearing from all indications, that he has not only improved his image, but also improved his character, which to me is much more important, because that's who you are. You can try and judging a book by its cover, right? But if the contents inside are,
but we want perpetrators to learn from their mistakes.
Yes.
and acclimatize themselves back into society. He's done that.
Yes, agree. So obviously, sky's the limit for Logan Mailloux. I want to ask you.
I don't think he'll win the Calder. I'll be honest with that.
No, no, I don't think he will. We'll see, maybe. But you mentioned there may be a Calder winner there in Montreal this season.
It would be the first time. It would be the first time ever, and it's kind of, there are records to be broken in Montreal or still around that. But it would be the first time ever that Montreal gets the Calder twice in a row.
That's had to have happened for another team before, I would imagine, right?
Probably for another team, but for Montreal,
not
you
for
think
Montreal.
that has been around since the early days. Since I think that. But Iman Demidov, I think it's not easy when you get drafted by Celine Dion. But
That's true.
but he's made an effort, and he got a chance to come over a bit earlier than expected when the KHL season finished early for him and Ska, and I don't even think, and I say this as a PK Subban fan, I don't even think the Bell Center was as loud when PK was at his peak, and he had played his first shift.
Wow. That's fantastic. Good to hear.
And he seems to be handling the pressure. He's doing all the right thing. He spent the summer in Montreal working out and practicing with kids and showing up at different activities and stuff like that. Again, getting used to the area, and wouldn't surprise me if he comes out one day and just speaks fluent French, because that's how Russians are in a way. They don't do anything half measured. They do.
No, they do not. And you mentioned Tarasenko earlier. Yeah, that was the same here. He literally did not speak a lick of English, and by the time I'd say by his second season, he was having full conversations with his teammates in proper English. So, there's no haphazardness there at all. To comment back on what we asked earlier, if this happened before, 2 Calder winners in 2 years on the same team. I think it looks like it's happened 3 times.
Chicago must be one, right?
Chicago was not one,
right,
from what I can tell. Quick research says 1967-68 was the last time. Bobby Orr, some guy nobody's ever heard of, in 1967. And then 1968, Derek Sanderson, both with the Boston Bruins. So,
Yeah, but we don't really care about that franchise, right? So that has never happened.
Get out of here. That one doesn't count. Yeah, we don't even count that one. But Patrik, thank you very much for coming on the show. Look forward to I'm going to be following, Habs Eyes on the Prize, which people don't. That's still around after the SB Nation split up. You guys have kept it together and still cranking out great stuff. So for anyone who's interested in more Habs content, definitely check out Habs Eyes on the Prize. But Patrik, go ahead and tell our audience how they can find you on social media and where they can find all your work.
Well, it's all nice on the price, more or less, or Habsent Minded over on the usual platforms for podcasts. But otherwise, you find me at Seb_Habs on Twitter, and I'm not tweeting as much as I used to because obviously different guys own Twitter. But yeah, I'm usually there, and if you ask me a question or two, I will be kind enough to answer it if I know the answer. Otherwise, I will look for the answer. So just in the system, I was just checking if you have any prospects from Sweden in your. Yeah, Love. You got Love.
Yeah, we got a good amount of prospects.
Until
Alexander
Lindstein,
Steen
but Lindstein is, but he's over already, right?
Yeah,
and Seymour Robertson is over as well. But Love is good. He's going to be interesting to follow this year.
Yep, let me see real quick. I know there's a couple. Yeah, Lindstein's good, and then we've got oh boy, hang on, let me pull a couple more up. Yeah, and we got Simon Robertson. Let's see, Otto Stenberg.
Oh, you got Otto as well, yeah.
That's right, Samuel
Hansen. He's staying in Frölunda, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Which
Leo
is
Loof
the local of the team I have on.
Oh yeah, there you go. Perfect. Perfect tie-in. And then the Blues did just draft. I believe it's pronounced Louvre Herenstam, the goalie. Louvre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Herenstam.
Yep.
But don't even try it.
I was gonna say you sound so much better with that. I might just clip that off every time I want to say his name. It's like, here's Patrik to tell us how to say it.
Poor guy reminds me of a time in London where a British guy was supposed to say Jyväskylä, which is a Finnish city. And I think he pronounced it wrong. He said it 20 times, and I think he pronounced it wrong every time in his presentation.
In a different way, yeah. Yep, I've definitely been there. Patrik, thank you very much for coming on again. That is Patrik Bexell of Habs Eyes on the Prize. He is their European correspondent, and of course, Habsent Minded is the podcast to check out. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Patrik.
Thank you for having me.
Well, a big thanks goes out to Patrik for joining the show. Patrik's actually going to have me on his show. Again, Habsent Minded is what it's called, which were recorded just after the interview you just heard. His intro was hilarious. As a European, I really enjoyed it. In fact, I've got a clip here. Take a listen.
And welcome to Habsent Minded, the top 25, under 25. We are, as you all know, in the top 10. And at number 8, we have a new entry acquired from St. Louis Blues. It's Zachary Bolduc. And I'm here with Jeff Ponder of St. Louis.
Let's Go Blues Radio.
Let's Go Blues, the podcast that is our equivalent over in the great state of
Missouri.
Missouri, yeah. And I'm a geography teacher. This is shit. I'm editing out. Well, you don't know half the names of the European countries anyway, so it's fine.
That's true. Oh, that is very true. Do not ask.
That's actually what I say. If you make fun of Americans, they're just gonna go, which state's capital is this?
Again, he's European. English is his second language. I'm not making fun of the man. He was laughing as well, and he even said he thinks he might keep it in his show because it was so funny. So, yeah, just wanted to share that with our audience because I got a kick out of that. Not knowing where St. Louis was, not knowing the name of the show. Just really funny stuff. So, again, thank you, Patrik, and really had a good time talking with him, and I think you'll be hearing from him again. Again, we've got some Swedish prospects that he'll be able to provide some insight on. Next week, I think we will be having another live show. It's been a little while. Curt and Bill are going to be coming back on, and we actually have got we've got some podcast news, all positive, nothing bad, that we want to share, and we think we might do an AMA. If you don't know what that is, and Ask Me Anything, they do those on Reddit a lot with celebrities and podcast hosts do it, and I just thought it'd be fun to just have a fun, relaxed episode where we ask our audience to ask us anything. Anything you want to know about us personally, our take on the Blues, our take on other teams, what we do in our free time, anything like that. We are happy to answer it. So I'll go ahead and put this out there. If you have questions for us, you can send them to radio@letsgoblues.com. Again, that is radio@letsgoblues.com. Or you can just put them on social media. We're at LGB Radio everywhere. We'll make sure to get all those. Facebook, it's just the Let's Go Blues Radio page, so just search for that if you're not already following us. And yeah, post, get us some questions. We'll have some lined up. Obviously, we'll be doing it live, so we'll be taking in questions as they come in from the chat. So yeah, go ahead and get those questions out there. If you already have something in mind, go ahead and send it to us, and we'll be happy to make sure to include that in the show next week. And don't forget, though, we do have some podcast news coming. Good news. Again, nothing bad. Don't worry. We're not going anywhere. Just wanted to go ahead and share this with our audience. So we figured a live show was the best way to do that. Well, I think that'll do it for the show. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by Mike Burgoyne from Rio Brokerage Realty. Email him at mike@strikewithmike.com or visit strikewithmike.com today for all of your home buying and selling needs. That will do it for episode 40 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great week, everybody. For Curt Price and Bill Day, as well as Patrik Bexell of Habs Eyes on the Prize, I'm Jeff Ponder, and I will talk with you next week. This was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
A Mark Goodson television production.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
One little, two little, three little engines. 4 little, 5 little, 6 little engines. Uh-oh, sorry, that one was a half-breed.
Mentos fresh and full of life. Nothing gets to you. Staying fresh, staying cool. With Mentos fresh and full of life. Fresh goes better. Mentos freshness. Fresh goes better with Mentos fresh and full of life.
Mentos, the fresh maker.